Surprise guest where a big gator got a lot of attention crawling around and where officers believe it was headed.
And first confirmed case. This morning, health officials are keeping a close eye on the state's first case of the Zika virus. Why they're telling you there's no need to panic.
Plus a possible vote on the controversial public transportation project in Albuquerque. When city councilors could make a decision on ART coming up. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to KRQE News 13 this morning. I'm Adam Atchison.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Crystal Gutierrez. Thanks so much for joining us on this Monday, March 21st. We'll get to those stories in just a bit, but first we start with news happening now. Yeah, fire crews, as you wake up, are busy battling a large fire in the Bosque just outside La Jolla. Residents are on high alert right now. We do have team coverage this morning. Kristen Curry's in the Weather Center tracking the latest in our state's fire danger. But first we start with Catherine Mazzone live near La Jolla, where in just hours firefighters will meet to reassemble their crew. Good morning.
That's right, Crystal. We've been here for about an hour, and about an hour ago I spoke with a public information officer who told me he doesn't have anything new this morning, but as you mentioned, Crystal, they are expected to reconvene in just a few hours. Now already this fire has chewed through more than 100 acres. You can see yesterday it's nearly doubled in size. This is what it looked like as volunteer fire departments rushed to the area. Socorro County Emergency Management and the State Forestry Division also responded. Crews got to work creating fire lines using bulldozers to clear brush and weeds. Sky News captured raging flames periodically flaring up. The biggest concern? Protecting structures in La Jolla. Now, an air tanker was brought in to drop fire retardant. Officials have been keeping an eye on the fire, and I mentioned earlier this morning that we could smell smoke about, exit 175 around Bernardo. So it is still burning. And just in a few hours, as I mentioned, they'll reassemble to take another look at what happens next. Back to you, Crystal.
All right, thanks so much, Catherine. And again, we will stay on top of the story throughout the morning. Now we're moving on to Kristen Curry, who is tracking the latest as fire crews get ready to start their day again. Are we worried about winds today, Kristen?
Slightly this afternoon. We'll go slightly breezy towards the later half of today, with wind speeds likely to get up to about 15 in and around the La Jolla fire area. But at this moment, they're actually fairly light, only about 5 to 10 in and around Belen and down in Socorro. We're readings of about 8 miles per hour. But again, it's this afternoon that we're going to see those winds pick up. No sign of rain or snow in today's forecast, so we're not going to see any relief there. And unfortunately, winds only get stronger into the later part of tomorrow. Notice Tuesday we have a red flag warning stretch across the entire northern half of the state and over the eastern plains. A fire watch down across south central and southwest New Mexico. Everybody underneath that critical fire danger Tuesday and likely again on Wednesday. So unfortunately not how we wanted to start the spring season. We will get some warm temperatures out of this today and tomorrow, but with a strong cold front moving in Tuesday night, we are looking at a significant drop in those numbers through midweek before eventually recovering into this weekend. So I'll break down today and tomorrow's fire danger, and we'll take a look at that new 7-day forecast here in about 10 minutes.
All right, Kristen, we'll see you then. Thank you. 6:03 new this morning. The Albuquerque City Council could vote on the proposed rapid transit project in just hours now.
One city councilor says he's supporting some changes to that plan, though, before it gets approved. News 13's Sarah Yingling is here with the very latest. Good morning, Sarah.
Good morning, Crystal. Tonight's scheduled vote would authorize the mayor to accept funds for ART as soon as the funding from Congress comes in. But first, Councilor Pat Davis wants a new bus stop to be added to the International District. Davis said he came to council offering to pay for the design with his own discretionary funds. Council agreed it was a good idea. The plan calls for dedicated bus lanes along Central from 98th to Tramway at a cost of $119 million. The bus stop that will be near San Pedro and Central would cost Davis $400,000. The current ART design does not have any stops in the mile stretch between Louisiana and San Mateo. This would address that problem.
We're not going to ask our most transit-dependent people to sit on the curb and watch a $100 million bus pass them by. So we're going to take a little bit of money, design the stop that they need to bring our local bus routes into ART and give them quicker access to more jobs downtown and in Nob Hill and access to doctors and all kinds of those things that we all use transit for.
Councilor Davis also wants a parking structure built in Nob Hill to address the many concerns that business owners and residents have about the need for parking in that area. He says that's a project they need to start now so that by the time ART is finished, if it's approved, they don't disrupt Nob Hill with another construction project. Nearly $70 million is earmarked in the president's budget for the project, but again, that money has not been approved by Congress yet. Back to you.
All right, Sarah, thank you. And again, once it's approved, construction on ART is expected to begin as early as May. We'll let you know what happens tonight on air and on the KRQE News app. This morning, state health officials are cautioning travelers to watch for signs of illness if they've been to Central America.
This after New Mexico's first case of the Zika virus is now confirmed. However, this morning, state officials are also reassuring New Mexicans there is no reason to panic. Officials say the 46-year-old man got sick while he was still in El Salvador and had symptoms that most experience with Zika. That's when he returned back home last month. The state confirmed his case on Friday after he was sent to Colorado to be tested by the CDC. Officials say the man is doing fine now, but they did caution him about the possibility of spreading the virus through sexual activity. Health officials are saying, don't worry though, no mosquitoes here in our state have tested positive for Zika.
The risk for Zika in New Mexico is absolutely minimal for the people who live here in New Mexico. The risk for Zika, exposure and infection, are for those who travel to these areas.
And of course, the biggest concern is for pregnant women and their unborn children. They're most at risk as the virus has been linked to serious birth defects.
6:06 right now and happening this morning. Authorities in Pennsylvania are trying to determine what led to a retired state trooper allegedly shooting 2 people to death at a turnpike toll booth. Police say 55-year-old Clarence Briggs killed a toll collector and a security guard on Sunday in a botched robbery attempt. Briggs was eventually shot and killed by another trooper on scene, authorities say.
On to news happening today. Apple's expected to make a big announcement at the company's spring conference. The headliner is expected to be a smaller version of the iPhone, followed by a smaller version of the iPad Pro. The event will take place at Apple's Cupertino campus. That's at 11 o'clock this morning. Electronic giant Bang & Olufsen will join with LG Electronics, the world's second largest TV maker, this to create advanced technology TVs. No price yet for the OLED screen TVs has been released, but you can look for them starting 2017. Get this, the TVs are said to be brighter, more efficient, thinner, and have better contrast than LCD and plasmas.
Authorities are investigating what forced a small plane to make an emergency landing over the weekend. Santa Fe County officials say that plane landed on an I-25 frontage road outside Santa Fe yesterday afternoon. The 4-seat plane, registered to an Albuquerque owner, landed near a rail runner station. It's unclear how many people were on board or why that emergency landing was necessary in the first place. Officials tell News 13 no one was hurt.
An Albuquerque officer shot by a fellow officer starting the week with thousands more dollars to support his recovery. Law enforcement support group Stand True for Blue hosted a pancake breakfast for Officer Jacob Grant yesterday. It was at the Applebee's near Coors and I-40. Officer Grant was shot multiple times by now retired Lieutenant Greg Brackle during an undercover operation last year. The organization says it's just happy to help local law enforcement.
It's not really from Stand True for Blue. It's from every single member of the community who's showing up. So we're just grateful to be able to provide a platform for that to happen.
So organizers tell us more than $3,100 was raised.
Students at a Florida school will likely still be talking this morning about a 10-foot gator that showed up outside their classrooms last week. Look at this thing. Staff and students say they were amazed to see such a big gator roaming around. Police kept the animal in one spot until a professional trapper caught him. Officers believe the reptile was headed for a lake across the street, and this was just a little stop along the way.
I love how we've done 2 gator stories, and the professional trappers both are not wearing shoes.
I know, look at that. He's brave. Or pants, you know?
Yeah.
Not that that's going to matter, I guess, if a gator bites you.
I don't get it. I still would feel a little more comfortable with something covering my little toes.
Fair enough. I probably would too. Or I wouldn't get that close. It wouldn't matter.
Ousted from UNM, what the former Lobo women's basketball coach is saying she thinks is the reason behind her firing.
Plus, neighborhood hit hard. How many times police say this man broke into one house, and why neighbors are breathing a sigh of relief this morning.
Also this.
This has happened before, and it's never gotten this close, I don't think.
Concerning and close, what we know this morning about a wildfire still burning in the Bosque this morning, how close it's come to a nearby village. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to KRQE News 13 this morning. I'm Krista Gutierrez.
And I'm Adam Atchison. Monday, March 21st. We're going to begin with developing news happening right now. The fire that's burning in the Bosque is still going, and it has put many residents on high alert in the last couple days. It sure has, and we do have team coverage this morning. Kristen Curry's in the Weather Center tracking the latest on fire danger in our state. But first, we start with Catherine Mazzone live near La Jolla, where in just hours, firefighters will meet to reassess their next move. Good morning, Catherine.
That's right, Crystal. Just moments ago, I spoke with the public information officer heading up, and he told me that the fire has grown to between 150 and 200 acres. Now, this is what he could also tell me, is that the fire, they know, is not from natural causes. They know that it wasn't. However, that doesn't mean that someone started intentionally. They said it could be from a blown transformer or an accidental start. They're still investigating to find out exactly how this fire started and how it's grown to 200 acres.
We probably won't be able to sleep tonight, I'm sure, because I know that one of the firemen said that this is going to be an all-night affair.
Mm-hmm. And we're having technical difficulties with Catherine's audio this morning, so we are going to continue here. That's what one resident told us yesterday. She lives right behind the Bosque. Locals were the first to spot signs of trouble yesterday morning. Since it was first reported, the fire has more than doubled in size. As you just heard, crews have told us it is now inching closer to 200 acres.
Which is typical for these bosque fires, very narrow, basically occurring just within the floodplain where the majority of the fuels can grow.
So this is what it looked like yesterday. Numerous volunteer fire departments rushed to the area along with Socorro County Emergency Management and the State Forestry Division. Crews got to work laying fire lines using bulldozers to clear brush and weeds. Sky News captured the raging flames there that flared up periodically throughout the day. Biggest concern has been protecting structures in La Jolla. The closest flames got within 300 yards of a Catholic church in that area. One woman we spoke with who lives across the street said she couldn't help but worry.
We're kind of concerned. This has happened before, and it's never gotten this close, I don't think. So we probably won't be able to sleep tonight, I'm sure.
So an air tanker was brought in to drop fire retardant, but other than that, crews mostly just let this burn overnight. Officials have been keeping a very close eye on the fire throughout the early morning hours. Catherine just told us that you could smell smoke several miles away from where the fire is burning, so we do know it continues to burn at this time. Again, fire officials just telling us it's inching close to 200 acres so far charred.
Yeah, and crews are hoping to get that fire under control today. They've got some very crucial hours to work within due to the weather on the way. Kristen Curry is monitoring the very latest on that. What are they facing?
Well, this morning winds are actually not too bad. They're only about 5 to 10 in the area around La Jolla. You'll notice up in Belen, our sustained speeds are only about 8 miles per hour. Down to the south in Socorro, about 8 as well. It's this afternoon that we're going to run into some problems as our sustained speeds will get up to about 15 for the later half of today. And keep in mind, these winds are coming out of the south, so those up to the north, Belen and Los Lunas, you're going to smell the smoke throughout the day today. Doppler radar are showing no relief in the way of rain or snow, so unfortunately that will work against us. And as we get into tomorrow, we are facing some significant problems. Wind speeds likely to skyrocket into Tuesday, single-digit humidities, and you'll notice the red flag warnings that we have up across the entire northern and eastern portions of the state. So we do need to make a lot of progress today because tomorrow is going to be a monster with any ongoing fire. So I'll break down the rest of your forecast, including that 7-day, coming up here in about 10 minutes.
All right, thanks, Kristen. And in about an hour and a half, crews will reassemble this morning to reassess what their next move is to fight this large wildfire still burning near La Jolla, just south of Belen in the Bosque. We will stay on top of this throughout the day, on air, online, and through our KRQE News app.
Time now 6:35. People who live in Las Vegas, New Mexico have water service again this morning. Many were left without it for a big part of Sunday. The city's utilities director says a contractor hit one of the city's lines. While trying to isolate the issue, we're told that water was shut off to about half the community. We're told most people should have their water back on again this morning, and new valves were installed in the line overnight to help fix that issue. Still, the city says to call them if your water is not working yet at the number right here on the screen. We've also posted this number on our website, krqe.com. U.S. Senator Tom Udall is in Cuba this morning with President Obama on an historic trip.
The New Mexico Democrat is among several members of Congress making that trip. This is not Udall's first trip to Cuba. He has traveled there several times over the years to meet with Cuban officials. He says the president's trip signals a new relationship with Cuba, but that Congress still needs to repeal outdated laws that restrict business and tourism.
On the agenda today for the president, a wreath laying at the memorial remembering Cuban revolutionary Jose Marti. Afterward, President Obama will sit down for a bilateral meeting with Cuban President Raul Castro. Then later in the day, both men will hold a joint news conference. He plans to end the day with a state dinner at the Palace of the Revolution. Obama is the first sitting U.S. president to visit Cuba in nearly 90 years.
On to a live look at Washington, D.C. this morning, where Republican presidential frontrunner Donald Trump is expected to meet with party leaders in Washington today. He's also expected at a pro-Israel conference for a speech. The events come ahead of critical primaries in Idaho, Utah, and our neighboring state, Arizona, tomorrow. Trump leads rivals Ted Cruz and John Kasich in the winner-take-all state of Arizona. Well, Democrat Bernie Sanders is hoping some of Hillary Clinton's superdelegates will switch sides.
People who live in an Albuquerque neighborhood say they're waking up with a little more peace of mind this morning after police nabbed a man who allegedly broke into a house over and over again. Multiple homes in this Four Hills neighborhood have been burglarized in the last year, police say. One of them hit 5 times and 3 of them were caught on camera. The alleged burglar, Ramon Herrera, left behind a cigarette butt. Police say they were able to catch Herrera by submitting a DNA test and matching surveillance video to photos of him. He's already been convicted of burglary in a separate case, and this morning neighbors say they're glad that he's off the streets.
That gives me quite a good peace of mind, that one less person off the roads who are terrorizing the neighborhood.
This morning, Herrera is facing a string of burglary and criminal damage charges. He's booked on a $200,000 bond. A security guard is not facing charges this morning after police say he shot a suspected thief. That shooting happened just before 6 Friday morning at a Holiday Inn Express near 12th and Indian School. Police say the guard spotted Orlando Cedillo trying to break into a car. When the security guard confronted him, police say he pulled out a weapon. The guard told police that Cedillo then moved closer to him, and that's when he fired his weapon. Cedillo faces numerous felony charges this morning.
On to this, a group of apes will likely not be on display this morning after one escaped over the weekend. Visitors looking for a Siamang gibbons may see this sign instead, an empty enclosure as well. Saturday, a 2-year-old named Tika escaped through a hole in the mesh, possibly caused by a tree branch putting the zoo on lockdown. The Siamang gibbons will not be on display until the hole in the exhibit is patched. Further repairs are scheduled in the next coming months.
Developing this morning, former UNM women's basketball coach Yvonne Sanchez is asking for privacy today after being released from her position with the university. Sanchez was fired on Friday. In a lengthy statement released on Saturday night, she talked about her termination. Sanchez says while she's disheartened, she does not believe that it was racially driven. She believes athletic director Paul Krebs is under major pressure to make changes within the athletic programs, and she was the easiest target. She also claims there are many flaws in the evaluation process on top of discrepancies across athletic program expectations.